The Black Death was one of the worst outbreaks in history. It tore through Europe during the 14th century, causing massive death and destruction. Millions lost their lives, and there were permanent changes in the economy, society, and religion. This horrible event changed Europe forever. It was more than a health crisis. It triggered many social and political changes that shaped European history. In this video, we will analyze how the Black Death brought down the medieval world, how the common people and institutions reacted, and the lasting effects on European society. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more detailed historical analysis. On October 1347, 12 ships arrived at the Sicilian harbor of Messina, and on board, they had an invisible horror, the Black Death. The plague started in Central Asia and moved west, killing many during its journey along trade routes and port cities. When the epidemic finally subsided in 1353, an estimated 30 to 60% of Europe's population had lost their lives. But the effects of the Black Death went far beyond the number of people killed. They changed the course of medieval Europe itself. This pandemic brought huge changes in the economy, society, and religion. The Black Death began in the endless steppes of Central Asia. The germ Yersinia pestis that was transmitted by fleas on rats began its killing. The Mongols, who were warring in the city of Kaffa, now Feodosia, Crimea, are reported to have hurled infected corpses over the walls. It was the very first time biological warfare had been used. As merchants and sailors fled the city, they did so without knowing they were carrying the plague with them. This helped the disease spread rapidly throughout Europe. By 1347, the trading city of Messina in Sicily was among the first cities in Europe to suffer from the plague. Merchants from the Black Sea carried not only trade goods but also rats that bore the bacteria. The disease moved quickly to big trade cities like Genoa and Venice in 1348, and from them it spread all over Europe to France, Spain, the British Isles, and even to the northern regions of Scandinavia. The Black Death appeared as three forms, each with different symptoms and outcomes. The most common form was the bubonic plague, which created painful, swollen lymph nodes called buboes. These buboes were generally in the groin, armpit, or neck, would swell to egg size, and became black as the infection set in. There was a more deadly form of the plague, the septicemic plague, that attacked the blood directly. This was highly fatal, and within hours of contracting it, the person died. It created fever, chills, weakness, and in more advanced cases, gangrene of the limbs as the blood clotted and failed to flow. The pneumonic plague infected the lungs. It was the most contagious of the three and was spread through airborne droplets. It would kill quickly, usually within 2 or 3 days. Symptoms included hard coughing, chest pains, and breathing difficulty. Even more terrifying than the symptoms of the plague were how fast it spread. In a matter of a few brief years, Europe was devastated. As the plague swept across Europe, towns and villages were empty, and once busy streets were very quiet. The rapid death had its effect on society in general. Sick people, too ill to work, left crops in the fields, and food was scarce. At the same time, with fewer workers, there was a surplus of goods, and this led to a decline in demand and prices in some parts of the economy. The shortage of labor had far-reaching effects. Survivors could now command higher wages. Farm laborers, who previously were bound to land-based obligations, began to demand higher pay, weakening the feudal system. This shift in the workforce was not only evident in rural towns, but also in cities, as more individuals began businesses and achieved economic independence. The economic effects of the Black Death were far-reaching. The high death toll eliminated much of the workforce, leaving a severe shortage of workers. But the shortage produced unexpected effects. In many areas, wages for workers increased, and peasants, bound to the land they tilled, could now command higher wages or travel to better work. The rise in wages provided more money for workers to spend, and they spent it purchasing land, and many peasants soon became property owners. The concentration of wealth also changed. The rich lost control of a significant portion of their wealth, which was passed on within society through inheritance and the purchase of empty properties. The medieval European economy, therefore, experienced a level of social mobility that had never happened before. The landowners and the merchants became more powerful, and the power of the customary feudal lords weakened. The Black Death also had a major effect on religion. The Catholic Church, which was extremely powerful in Europe, was hard hit by the plague. Church employees died in large numbers from the disease, and the church was not able to meet the people's spiritual needs. Panic and fear ensued as priests fled or refused to perform last rites, which is a major religious ceremony. This led people to realize that the church could not give them the answers or comfort they so desperately needed. As a result, the church's power started to weaken. Many people turned to other ways of expressing their spirituality. Flagellant groups, who felt that publicly whipping themselves would cleanse them of their sins, whipped themselves in public displays of agony. But the church condemned these groups after some started spreading false ideas. The loss of faith in religion also created the rise of unconventional priests and thinkers who questioned the power of the church and its failure to safeguard the people. Notable figures included John Wycliffe and Jan Hus, whose teachings helped start the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century. As the feudal system started to break down, tensions between peasants and the wealthy landowners grew. Efforts by rulers to control wages and limit where workers could go were met with resistance. For example, the Statute of Laborers in England, 1351, tried to curb rising wages and keep peasants on their lands. But these controls failed. The social unrest led to uprisings like the English Peasants' Revolt of 1381, which showed the growing resentment among the lower classes against the wealthy elite. The Black Death was a turning point. Social inequalities that had plagued medieval society were worsened by the collapse of the pandemic. The distribution of wealth, the decline of feudal authority, and the demands of a more mobile and assertive workforce challenged the old order, leading to centuries of social and political upheaval. The Black Death also altered ideas and culture for centuries. The widespread suffering and death led people to question their beliefs and values. These difficult times led to a shift away from the religious focus of medieval society toward a more human-centered way of thinking. This movement led to the Renaissance, a time that saw an interest in science, art, and individual achievement. The arts were flourishing, and humanism, the belief in the dignity of individual experience and achievement, was a prevalent theme. The Renaissance that began in Italy in the late 14th century was in part a reaction to the trauma of the Black Death and the big life questions it raised. The Black Death was a disaster that altered medieval Europe in many ways. It undermined the feudal system, challenged religious authority, and led to the Renaissance. Although the immediate effects were ghastly, the long-term effects led to far-reaching social and economic change. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more investigations into history. Let us know in the comments what other historical events you'd like us to investigate. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.